Hey Marcus, how are you?
Hey Mark, I'm
It's
doing
good to see
fine.
you.
How are you, Mark?
Thank you so
Yes, good
much
to
for
see you
being
again.
here, first of all.
No, of course. No, thanks for inviting me.
Uh,
What kind of jersey is that? Is that
oh,
US?
this is a Boston Marathon jersey.
All right.
I
Okay.
I
Okay,
run. I
cool.
do a lot of running,
Nice.
and I haven't been in the Boston Marathon. I've been in the New York Marathon, but
Okay.
it's an aspiration, so I have the
That's
shirt on
great. Okay. That's
The
great. I'm
Boston
impressive.
Marathon, it's like
That's
it's not easy to get into any of these marathons. It
no.
takes like all this stuff that you have to go through in order to do it. But the Boston one is I would say the New York one is harder. It's a harder marathon, but the
Okay.
Boston Marathon is harder to get into.
Okay. So you do want to finish if you manage to get in. So that's good. That's
Yeah,
the extra
exactly.
motivation that you need, eh?
Exactly. Yeah, I
Cool.
did the New York Marathon. I've done the Singapore
Nice.
Marathon. So I've had some good experience there.
That's impressive. Yeah,
Cool.
cool.
All right. So
Nice.
we'll get started here, and
Mm.
we'll just have a chat. And if you want to do a demo, if you want to show people, hey, this is how it works. I showed them a little something on Friday of how Cyanite works and what
Cool.
happens when you analyze a song. But I'm sure you can do a better and deeper dive than I did. So I'll let you
Okay.
drive if you want to give a demo. But we'll just start off
Hmm.
just having a talk just about your work, the origins of Cyanite, the mission of Cyanite, and some of the things that you're doing. And then from there, we could transition into, you know, any sort of specific details. And if you
Yes.
want to give a demonstration, we can do that. And we'll only do it for
Amazing.
1 hour, so I'll make sure to get you out of here at 20 hours your time so that you're able to have your evening.
Okay. No, that's all fine. Like happy to have the combo.
All
Thanks
right,
again.
great. Let me just
Okay.
start recording. There we go. Look at this. I am so excited to see everybody here. What a great way to start a Monday. This is delightful. And I see some people I haven't seen here before, and I am looking forward to having this conversation today. You know, I think one of the most important things that we can do, and those of you who know me, how much of an emphasis I put on properly attributing emotion and mood and feeling and clearance information and other metadata points into your MP3s when you send them out. And a lot of this work up until recently, we had to do this manually, and we had to do it in a way where you would basically go through your instincts of what something felt like and what you knew about its clearance, and maybe ask your friends to give you a breakdown. But the great thing is that today there are ways where you can get a good deal of assistance, I think, in describing what your music sounds like, and then using that information to help it to be more findable, more syncable, more clearable. And that works for sync, but it also works outside of sync, where there are other types of people that are looking for music, from fans to A&R reps to people at publishers and labels. And I think that one of the companies that's doing some of the most exciting work in this area is Cyanite. So that's the reason why, I am so excited that Marcus is taken the time out to join us today to talk to us just a little bit about the mission of his company, as well as just some thoughts on the industry, and maybe we'll get a little look behind the curtain in terms of how Cyanite works and how you can apply it to your work. So, with that said, uh, Marcus Schwarzler, I want to thank you for being here and welcome you to the Sync Cafe.
Yeah, thanks so much, Mark, for having me, and thanks for everybody to join. And I apologize if you expected Benji from Surreal here. He's a very intelligent guy, so I hope I say about like 50% of the intelligence things he would say.
I think you
Just
will
as a
definitely. I think you will. I
yes,
think you'll
that's
be
it.
fine. And Benji,
Okay.
basically like Benji had to switch to Friday because he had a couple of things that came in. You know, his company was recently acquired by Warner,
Yeah.
so his schedule gets a little weird sometimes, and he apologized to everybody. But I think that in a practical basis, the conversation you and I are going to have is going to have more value
Mm.
for people than the sort of, you know, in the clouds conversation that Benji and I tend to navigate to when we're speaking.
Yes. Now, yeah, it's probably a little bit more applicable for everyone, specifically for people like your humans and making
Exactly.
music, right? So like yeah, it's although we have the AI in the name, it's definitely less AI than y'all think. But yeah, maybe just starting with a little background to myself. Like I
That would be
worked in the
great.
music industry. Sure. I worked in the music industry, or I work in the music industry for the past 15 years or odd years. And as so many others, started as a failed musician and toward business side, worked at labels here in Germany, out of Hamburg and out of Berlin. Then switched over to promotion, which then ultimately led me to actually studying music business. I didn't even know it was possible, but there's one university that where you can study the music business in Germany. So we did that, and it was somewhat of an accelerator for all of us, both in terms of network and like getting to know the ins and outs of the industry and the people that run it. As well as like having a great bunch of people that were motivated to found their own tech endeavor. Um, and that's what we did. So that's where I met my two co-founders, and we started off as the project called GrooveCat, which basically wanted to enable people to capture and share music moments, right? So the everyday moments where the music just randomly or serendipitously fits perfectly to the moment. You just like take out your phone, take a quick video, and that's about it. That's it. What you like. We want it to be as little invasive as possible. So the app would discover like recognize the music that's playing in the background. You can then also just say like, hey, what kind of mood you're in. And that's about it. You had the video, you had the song, and you had your mood. And it was really crazy what it did if you half a year later went through your music moment. It really like took you out of your today and like transported you back where you were at that time. Um, so while the concept I felt always like was working really well, the of course it's very hard to start a B2C sort of social media play.
Yep.
Eventually it tanked, it failed. But what it gave us was, first of all, this entire thinking about, okay, really deep dive into music moments and the emotional perception of people in different settings. And then we flipped it around, took the data that we gathered over the app, and then started to train our first AI to enable people to create music moments. And that's essentially what Cyanite is still in its DNA and it's in its nucleus. It's really about enabling people to find the perfect music to make a music moment. Let it be in your home, let it be in a movie, in a game, in a commercial, in a point of sale, in radio, wherever. And that's kind of like how we got into the whole world of sync, because sync essentially is people trying to make music moments every day. Yeah.
Exactly. Whether it's an ad, whether it's a personal reel that they're putting up on Instagram, or whether it's a film or a series,
Yes.
it's the same thing, right?
Yeah. It's always the same. Yes. It's always trying to leverage this like, unique power of music to evoke emotions and like, make a moment memorable.
So then, you know, in terms of the genesis of all of this, you've told us that. Now, how did it expand
Hmm.
into the way that you take a piece of music and then
Hmm.
you break it down in terms of its emotional mood and other elements, and how you categorize those elements so that people can take action on a piece of music and say,
Hmm.
okay, so now I've gotten this very detailed breakdown of what this music sounds like, what its feelings are, what the emotions are that are behind it. Now, how can I take that information from step A, which is the analysis of the music, to actually utilizing that music in the right way for a music moment?
Right. No, that's a great question. Maybe now is a good time where I just like quickly share my screen because
Please,
I
yeah.
realized that not everybody might have the best context about cyanide. So
Yeah,
um,
that's a
I
good
just sent
idea. So
you a
go ahead. Yep,
request.
you got it.
Okay, awesome. Perfect. Let me do that. Hang on. So there you go. So
Awesome.
that's essentially like just a stripped down app of what it does. Like usually our service is available through a web app and through an API. And what it essentially does is what Mark already alluded to is like you throw in any sort of audio file, preferably music file, and then it really breaks down just based on the audio information. It breaks down the song into quite like a ridiculous amount of data. So now I can just drag and drop a song into this here. And please, if you like to check it out yourself, just hit me up and does it. So now I'm uploading this song, and it's actually an AI song because I wanted to also show you another piece of another sort of turn of the technology. But what it does now, it sent it to Cyanide, analyzed it, and now we see that the data was retrieved, right? Um, yes. So here we find that all of the information is
Very
already
interesting.
populated. We have, BPM as like, the actual, let's call it tempo. Then we have the tempo feel, which is medium, so kind of musicology information. We have an AI music detection piece in here. Here it says that the AI is 86% sure this is generated by Suno. It actually is generated by Suno. I'll come back to that in a second. We have genre, subgenre, free genre information. So main genre and subgenre are kind of like the let's say the more obvious genre choices, where within free genre you can dig really really deep, and this is specifically interesting for non-west or like people dealing with non-western music,
Yeah,
and people that have very specific genre profile in their, or like genre profile in their label and their catalog. Let's say you're only dealing with electronic music, knowing that 30,000 of your tracks are electronic dance doesn't get you far, well, that was obvious. So now you want to know, is it,
right.
I don't know, in particular I don't know, is it Amapiano, or is it filter house? Is it new French touch? Is it, if you want to go really, really deep. Um, Here we see that we have the full country sort of, profile, but here we definitely see that there's also like some sort of rap component in the song as well. All this kind of stuff you see, like it's a bundle of data, energy, emotion, moods, one of 130 different moods, characters, blah blah blah. So much stuff. Specifically for sync is interesting. Also the music for slash usage category, and you also get all the data as a breakdown for every 10 seconds. So like in total, that gives you almost 2,500 data points for every minute of audio. But here comes the important distinction, right? So while we started to be a company that analyzed music for specifically like, only for humans, right? You would, I don't know, we would collaborate with a production music library, tag all their stuff so they have it on their website, um, and you can type in keywords and then search by them. Uh, Gradually, with the advent of large language models and AI agents, our data has more and more been used as sort of the music understanding piece of a large language model. And what
Yep.
that means is that people are going to Cyanide first, getting this abundance of data where you get these breakdowns and like a ridiculous amount of data. And then they take it all and throw it into an LLM and tell the LLM, now tell me what to do with it. And now I'm coming back to this piece here. This is actually an AI brief written by ChatGPT, where it tells me like, where it really like describes the song. in great detail, telling you what happens when in the song and when there are the most interesting parts of this song. And it also directly delivers me movies or series that this song could work for, artists that sound similar, a brand fit. Okay, song's called Airstream. That's good.
That's
Um,
good. Yes.
yeah, so that's also the important information. We're not parsing any other data. We're not taking the metadata in. It's just only based on the audio information. So this is actually a coincidence that it has Airstream as a brand in there. But
Right.
this could be even like, you can drill down and then say, actually, it needs to be a certain demographic and a certain territory of the earth, and then it gives you other um, proposals or suggestions, because now this large language model has a really deep understanding about your track that it previously didn't have. And that's how many people are using our technology.
That's really interesting.
Yes.
And I have to say, Marcus, this is a different interface than I've used. I think I'm using,
Yes, it's a
I
new
think
that's
it's
new
the,
stuff.
what's
Yeah.
that?
That's new stuff all also
Yeah,
built with
exactly.
AI,
Because
right?
like the
Yeah.
interface that I've used is it's
Hmm.
I think it's a bit more granular, right? There's like another
Yeah,
there's another version that you can look at, which gets very, very cool.
yes. I mean, you can also do that, and
Okay,
then
good. There you go.
like, if you want to. I didn't want to overwhelm people, because there's
Of course.
really so much information, um, where you can say, even with the main genre, right? We see, okay, 60% folk country as the main genre, but it does
Right.
have a quite large pop component, a singer-songwriter component, right? You can really see the genre profile of that track, instead of like describing it with one genre.
Right.
That's probably
So
what you were, yeah, touching on.
well, I was looking at that, and
Hmm.
also in the other interface is in the other interface. I think it
Hmm.
must be behind a paywall or something. Where not, I think it's when like this one. This one, I just want to be clear. This what I'm seeing today. This is
Hmm.
something that you can access by going to the website and just doing it, or do you have to sign up, or what's the process for this
Well,
to get
this is something
access?
that we're going to release tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow is going to
Ah,
be the big
okay.
release of tagging 2.0, how we call it. And the other app that we offer is actually this interface, which you
This is the one that I'm
talks
thinking
about,
of.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So it's
So
good to
that's
show
that's
them
a little
that.
bit dated, as you can see. Yeah.
It's a little dated, but it also
Yeah.
gets, yeah. It's that one is a much cleaner
It's the same.
interface. I will say that.
All right. That's good.
But yeah,
No.
this one here
Mhm.
has a little bit different of a way of breaking things down. So
Yes,
is
definitely.
this more sort of like if I'm somebody who's coming in as a label or an enterprise user, this is more the interface that I would use, or would I use the new interface?
So actually, 96, 97% or something of our customers are using the API, because this is
Right.
where,
That's what I
like,
thought.
really where the biggest value comes in, because they would want to use Cyanite through their disco, or they want to use it through their source audio, or SyncTech, or Harvest
Exactly.
Media, or Repertoire, cadenza box. So we integrate in all these services with disco is like a little bit of a workaround, but it works for the tagging purposes.
Yep.
um, and yeah, or they want to draw all the data directly into their own yeah, content management system, something that they built themselves.
Cool. Okay, we can go
Yes.
back to the first interface now. I
Sure.
just wanted to show
No,
people
that's
that
good.
there were two ways that you could look at something, but this is fantastic. So,
Mhm.
what's how do people get access? What's the pricing model? How are you working with people?
Right. So first of all, there is a free offering for up until 5 songs every month. You can just upload. You can go to the website and then create an account for free. It says that like everywhere, start for free or something.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I can go like, let me just say, like, show you that. And then it brings you to the old web app currently, and then from tomorrow on to the new web app. You just sign in with your using your credentials, or like just
Yep.
signing in is really easy. And then you get the 5 analysis for free each month. And right now, I think we're at around 350,000 signups already for this free offering. So it's getting good organic growth through Reddit. People are talking about it, and that's
Very
really
cool.
for the DIY community. Like all of us are or used to be musicians, more or less like DIY musicians. So we want to just be, I don't know, helpful to the community of people that are self-distributing and self-promoting artists, and they don't have a lot of money in hand. So that's why we have
Right.
this free offering. If you wanted to be, or if you wanted to have a few more analysis, you can also just buy them through the web app. There, they're
Sure.
going to cost around €2. But if you want to scale this further, let's say, okay, I want to upload now 300 songs or 1,000 songs or 3,000 songs, then of course it's not really economical to pay €2 per track. So that's when our usual pricing kicks in. Like this is our B2B pricing. Just quickly here, which starts with the API fee at 290 a month, or
Yeah.
2,900 for
That's
the
reasonable. Yeah.
year. Yes,
Yeah.
and then you can just play around, and it's just like, I don't know, I have 3,000 songs. I need the audit tagging, and then you get the price directly. So that's $900 one time for the tagging job, and then the recurring 2,900 for the access of the year. And that's how the pricing works. Yes.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Hmm.
And that's
Right.
it's very clear, it's very understandable. But and the thing is, for people that are DIY, this is a model that
Hmm.
works great. And if you're a label that is dealing with volume, this is
Yes.
what you're used to paying. This kind of basis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, just if you do the calculation, like, a person who's really trained can do around like 35 to 40,000 songs, like tagging 40,000 songs a year. And you probably, like, all in, it's going to cost you somewhere between 80 to 100,000
Yeah.
dollars US. I guess it's like way more reasonable to just like chuck that into the AI, and then free up that person to do like greater things than just tagging music.
That's the whole reason that,
Yeah,
that's the whole promise of, operational AI systems, like
exactly.
Cyanite.
Yeah.
It's that
Yes.
to free up people to do things that people are, well, let's be honest, they're better suited to do.
Yes.
Having somebody who's an 80 to $100,000 resource spending like 45 hours a week doing data entry and metadata is a losing proposition. This is a much better way of doing it.
Yes. No, I agree. And I mean, like, if you enjoy doing that, of course, like by all means, like, then that's up to you. But I've not talked to a lot of people that are tagging music who say that they're extremely passionate about that, and it's more like an afterthought, something that you know they have to do.
It's something that we have to do. It's not something that
Yes.
I would say, I would speak for most people. We don't derive joy from the metadata entry process. So
No.
this
Okay.
is great.
That's good. Yes. Awesome.
so so with that said,
Hmm.
I had a couple of questions for you in terms of like,
Sure.
how did you how did you train your LLM? Because what you do, I think, is really,
Hmm.
there's maybe one other company that I can think of that's out there right now that does a comparable job in terms of the detailed analysis of an
Mm.
MP3 and enhancement of the metadata. So, what has been your, you know, sort of the building of this
Hmm.
tool and the training been like? How did you all conceive of this, from a practical level, and how did you train it to be so detailed?
Right. I mean, we were, I would say, yeah, I don't know, lucky, or like the timing was right, because when we started out, like the it wasn't that crazy around like AI training data, and there weren't so many bad actors out there just like stealing left, right, and center, and like building their own business model on it. So the entire climate about getting permission for training from the rights owners and licensing data from rights owners was a bit more straightforward, or like a bit more collaborative, right?
Hmm.
Because yeah, I don't know, one of the sides has not at that time not already like been proven to be not wanting the best for this collaboration. So that was later. So at that point, like, was all really good conditions. So we started to train our AI, and what became, that's also a very important thing for us because we've conducted a lot of research, was in the whole thing about balancing data sets. So
Yeah,
that's something that's generally totally overlooked, is because everybody's talking about the ethics of AI, but what they actually mean is like the legality of AI. So they're
yeah,
saying like, oh, like AI needs to be trained ethically, but like when it comes about permission and licenses to train, that's really about legality of training AI. It's not about ethics of AI, or it has a component, but not that's. It's about money, so that's where
yeah,
people complaining about. But where it comes to ethics of AI, is actually something like, where does the legal code end and where does the moral code sort of start? And in that field, a whole part that's not understood, like, or overlooked, is actually gender equality. And as we all know, it was like the music industry from the get-go, like the analog times was very male facing. So like a lot of the training data that is, or like favoring male artists. And so the whole training data that's been chucked into these AIs um, inherits that bias. And so
yes,
when you go out and like, and you generate a song on all of the platforms, on Suno and Udio and wherever. Udio is not that bad, but like Suno is bad, 11 Music is bad. Um, if you just say like, give me a metal song, it will give you a metal song with male vocals. If you say, give me a country song, it will give you a country song with male vocals, and so on. Where does it not do that? With pop music and with R&B music. So it's
right.
like, male leaning genres are always, perpetuated to be male, female leaning genres are perpetuated to be female. Um, and for us, it was very important from very early on to balance data sets, so you kind of render out these biases in the training process. And um, that I think has led our AI also to be not only fair but more detailed around the on the edges, right? Where most of the other models just start to hallucinate and just say like, oh, it's I don't know, it's a male sounding rock song, so it must be metal, or like it's metal, so it must be a male vocal, or it's I don't know, African American sounding vocal, so it must be either hip hop or R&B. So you have these kind of overfitting in a lot of the models that are out there, and particularly the open source models. So keep your hands away from that stuff if you wanted to have it fair. And yeah, for us, it was very important not to do that. And I think that's how we ended up being good. And I think like our data scientists are just also really good, apparently. I don't know, they just come back with stuff and it works. I'm amazed by it. And um, rigorous quality assurance mechanism. We're working with a bunch of music supervisors here in Germany as well to make sure that everything that we release is good, or like fits our standards. Yeah, so it's a very it's slow process, but it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I agree with what you're saying in terms of gender equity when it comes to training AIs, because
Mm,
you do see that there is a skewing, and it's not just,
yeah.
the generative AI services, but, services that are tracking and enhancing metadata. And it spills into everything. So I think it's important to keep
Hmm.
that in mind. The other thing that I'll say, this is at least my opinion, is that when it comes to your using data sets or companies like yours using data sets, it's inherently different
Hmm.
in terms of using those training materials for a company like Cyanite or another company that's developing an operational AI system versus a generative AI system, where obviously those that training data is being used to create things that off of that training data that can be competitive or similar in terms of the original elements. Whereas creating um, data sets around music using that, original training data, I would say it's additive more than competitive. And I think that's a big difference when you're talking to the original rights holders and in any conversation around using their content or their data for training materials.
Yes, no, no, I agree. It's really about like growing the pot for everyone, like,
Yeah,
making that collaboratively, but also of course acknowledging that we're building a business model on that as well, right? So we are making our model money, and I'm paying 17 people to work every day as
of
well. So
course.
this
Yeah.
this is also important for us to have some sort of like back channel that goes into the music industry, so that you, yeah, first of all grow the pot together, but also give what you earn back.
I think it's one of the most important things that we can do, Marcus, is to build a remuneration model where people are
Mhm.
rewarded for training AI, just in all of its aspects. It's not an easy problem to solve, is it? To
No,
make it actually work, but it's something I think we have the responsibility to do.
yeah, I agree. And a good sorry, Paul, like, but this is just that one point, but we've also seen it with MRT, ACR companies, right? So like they train on music, they train AI, which then helps attribute royalties for usage in TV and broadcast or radio. And that's, I mean, that's kind of like a good example of like how it worked in the past, and how people are now growing the pot together.
Exactly. I mean, at the
Yes,
end of the day, it's going to be AI that is going to help to remunerate people for
yes.
their usage of music in AI. And I think it's going to have to be some sort of a royalty scheme or something like a royalty scheme that exists now for when your music is streamed or when your music is used in a series or in a film. There'll be something that's a similar mechanism, but it's going to have to be
Mm,
AI that's going to be able to determine the usage of music and the amount of the types of music and where it was used in order to train a particular AI, what data sets were used, and then from there be able to pay out royalties in a similar way that you do for royalties for a series or for streaming. That's my
I'd
thoughts
hope so. Yeah.
anyway. There's a lot of details in that, but that's the sort of high level. All right, Paul, I wanted to bring you in. Thank you for waiting patiently. It's delightful to bring you in here. So nice to see you.
Yeah, I thought I'd put on the visual too so you could see me.
Love it. Good to see you, man.
Um, I was done stuffing my face. Anyways, I have a question about the future of this particular uh app that you're doing here. When I go to the
Hmm.
similarities properties and I see
Hmm.
bands and artists that are similar to that sound or that song, um,
Hmm.
they're unknowns, most of them. Matter of fact, I've tried about 4 or 5 songs and rarely found
Hmm.
anybody that I had known before. And for me to gauge which ones would be best to be usable, I'd like to see a column in there of how many hits they've had currently. It's just a
Mm.
snapshot, maybe of Spotify. How many hits they've had. Uh, on each similar artist.
Right. No, that's a great point. I think you're touching on the similarity search in our the older web app that I showed, right?
Yep.
And that is really about more finding songs that sound like quite close to the reference song, right? So that's the proposition there. It's really about like the song, and then a pool of other songs that sound very similar. But it's a good point that you said that, and that's a lot of like feedback that we gotten often. Is like, hey, I want to or want to see more popular artists or iconic artists that sound like my music. So that's why we added that point to the other web app, like the first app that I showed, which we're gonna release tomorrow. It's gonna give you just three. other artists that are usually more well known. And if you want more, you can just regenerate, and that gives you more and more artists. Um, and
So
yeah,
eventually you're
that's
saying I would by doing more and more, I would finally hit on some bigger artists that have their, because those are the ones that I'm wanting to search and to see. Um,
yeah.
these are the ones that, what films have they been placed? What commercials have they been
Mm,
placed in? That
hmm.
sound similar to what I'm doing at the moment, you know,
Yes.
and I'd rather find the big ones rather than the smaller ones that haven't
Yeah.
placed. I don't
Yeah.
know that they
Mm.
your app isn't going to get further with that, is it? Is it going to go to the point where it shows how many syncs they've had, how many sync licenses they've had, or something about them, so I can see that,
Mm.
yeah, I'm
Mm.
finding similarities where somebody might like what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's actually a great point. I not seeing it to display, like, we don't have that data of like how many sings they had, or sort of like the recognizability of each and of the songs of a particular artist. We do not have that information, but like through a large language model, you can directly connect Cyanite's data to and then ask it, hey, what kind of movie would my song fit to? It's really about giving the large language model, which so many supervisors are already using,
Yeah.
just more context about any given song, so that you're able to connect your song to the right artist, to the right brands, to the right TV shows, also radio channels. Like, what's the channel that plays my music, but not only in the USA, but I don't know, outside of that, to have a chance of, like, getting my song played on radio in Germany, etc. Right? So like you can converse with that LLM about all of this stuff once it has the context to your song, which it cannot generate itself. So you can upload a song into Claude, or you can upload a song into ChatGPT, and they will always tell you the same. It's like, I can understand that song.
Yeah.
Oh, please go to Cyanide and get this understanding first, and then give me the text that Cyanide outputted, and then I can tell you a little bit more about it. So that's basically the workflow.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Okay.
I'm just, but like I said, making suggestions for future versions of what you're doing
Yes,
from our side of it as producers. We're looking at, here's a
for
song
sure.
that's really unique. Maybe Germany likes this kind of stuff all the time. How do I
Yeah.
find out? Maybe France does. Who knows where this kind of music acts? Because there's been times in the business over the years where a particular genre of music just populates just a few countries
Yeah.
in Europe and doesn't
Yeah.
really break over here in America, but I could still use it in film and TV over there. So
Yeah.
I'm looking for gathering the data to figure out what to do with it. But thanks for your help.
Yes. No, of course.
Yeah, I mean, artist similarity is it's an important data point for music supervisors because,
Mm.
you know, I wouldn't say every search is going, hey, I want to find something that sounds like Tears for Fears, but I don't want to pay a lot of money for it, and I don't want it to be a Tears for Fears cover, like
Hmm.
something like that, or I want a replacement for a Billie Eilish song because we weren't able to clear the rights. Those sorts of things are important for us if we're looking at it from the music supervision side, but the converse, where you're a producer or an artist, that's of
Mm.
vital importance too, because you're able to better categorize your music and then filter it when you send it out to people. You'll have a better you'll have a better chance of it resonating when people are searching for music. So I agree with you, Paul. This is a really important thing to be able to indicate and to be able to connect into your metadata when you are sending out music. And
I got
I
one more.
honestly, yeah, go ahead.
I got one more question. How do we beat the system that, because every time you contact somebody, they've already used that particular style, but they're on to new projects. How do you get ahead of the now? Because it's such a fast-paced business. How do you know what I'm talking about, right? How do
Well,
you find out what they're looking for right now rather than what they looked for a month ago or whatever?
that is a totally different question. That is
I
something I
know.
know Cyanite is not working on, and it's like the holy grail for people. And at the end of the day, that comes down to building trusted relationships with the music supervision community. There's no other way to put it. And that takes time and effort. And the only way, that you could maybe accelerate that process is if there is a way where you can say to the music supervisor, um, hey, this is a track that has been, let's say, I don't want to say approved or vetted or something, but this is a track where the information has been confirmed in terms of what it is and its clearability and the people that own it, etc., by an internal confirmation process. Because if I had that as a music supervisor, then that would give me a level of confidence that I may not have, just getting something randomly from someone. And that will then help to change the opinion of, oh God, I've gotten 500 pieces of music. And usually what happens when you get 500 pieces of music, and I know there are some music supervisors who are in the chat, but I think I'm going to represent everybody correctly here. So bear with me. So basically, the way that it works now is, first tier, I go out to the people that I know and the people that I deal with all the time, and I give them a brief. And that's a small circle of people. And that's the circle you want to be in. But I go out to a small circle of people. And if they can do what I need them to do, the search stops there. I do the deal. Tier two is, I don't know somebody who has this sort of music. So I'm going to put a note out there to private lists that I belong to, or to friends that I know in the industry who might have done something. So that's where the idea comes, where a music supervisor says, you know, I really need to clear a track with this Taiwanese label. And this happened to me last week. I really need to clear a track with this Taiwanese label, but I don't know anybody there. Let me send out a note to a private group that I belong to. So somebody sent out a private group, and then somebody alerted me in that group, hey, somebody's looking to connect with a Taiwanese label. Mark, all these people in Asia. I looked at it, I got in touch with the person who I knew well, and I was just like, look, done. So that was second tier. So we got that deal done. Then if you can't, as a music supervisor, get that done in like tier one and tier two, then there's tier three, which is, I'm going to send out a brief and I'm going to put it out there and let's see where it goes out. Let's see what comes in. So then I will put together a brief and I'll make it as detailed as I can. Sometimes I'll give a video reference, sometimes I'll give an audio reference, and then it goes out to the world. Okay, so then what happens is that you, as a producer or an artist or a label, are now competing with everybody who's accessed that brief. So that's one side of the equation. Then the other side of the equation is the music supervisor now, instead of getting like 5 or 10 tracks from people they know or are referenced to, now get 500 tracks or 700 tracks. And then
Exactly.
they've got to go through a vetting process. And the vetting process has to be by its nature pretty cruel, which means, okay, first of all, metadata is bad, throw it out. Metadata is bad, throw it out, because that's risk and that's time. So you put that away. Then you've got it down from, let's say, 700 songs to maybe 150 songs. Then there you've got to go through the 150 songs. So what do? You go and you listen to the song for like 2 to 10 seconds. And then you're like, doesn't work. Doesn't work. So then you bring that down to about 50 songs. And then from there, you'll take maybe, actually realistically, 20 to 30 songs. Okay. Then from there you go, okay, now I'm actually going to listen to these because these are the ones where the metadata is correct and it actually fits what I was looking for. And then you go through that process and you winnow it down to an amount of songs where you feel confident that you can bring that to your team, whether it's a creative director at an ad agency, a showrunner, an editor, whoever. And then you start to go back and forth with them and make your choices. That's
You,
generally how it goes. And then if nothing works, you start the process over again. So
you know,
what
it
we
was, I'm
so what
sorry,
we
go
need
ahead.
to do, no, I'm almost done. So basically that's the way that it works in the real world. So at the end of the day, if we can find ways to streamline that process, then we are able to both bring up the potential, reliability of the in terms of perception in the music supervisor side of the music that's being brought to us. And on the other side, we create a lot of efficiencies for people. So if there's some sort of a certification system, or there's some kind of vetting system that AI can help us with, then we take it down from maybe 700 songs to 100 songs, because then the AI will say, okay, well, I got rid of these things, and these things for these reasons. And then if the music supervisor wants to, they can dig into those and say, okay, maybe I'll look at that a little bit more. Or they can go, thank you very much. Now let me look at this. And that will streamline the process for them, save them time, and also for you, help your music to be considered trustable and reliable. And that will accelerate the relationship that takes more time to develop. So that's, off
Mm.
the top of my head, the way that
I'm,
I
I was,
think that that
I,
can be done.
Yeah, I would just wanted to, if you have time to let me expound on this. I went through Chris
Sure.
SG's class. I've been through many sync classes, so everything is bona fide. Everything's the way it should be,
Of course.
organized really well in my 60 song catalog, which brings me hundreds of assets. But
Right.
uh, I noticed from being in the music business in the 80s and 90s, living in Hollywood as a producer and supporting the what they call the alternative rock back then, I had access to everybody like you and everybody in the business. I was on the inside of the non-solicited material circle, and I was
Right.
doing all kinds of things with that as a producer and publisher. But the way that it is now, I met like 5 or 10 supervisors online, did a Zoom call, got to know them a little bit, and then later on emailed them and asked if I could be on their brief list.
Right.
And out of 12, I didn't get one that put me on their brief list, because that's the golden opportunity to find out what's going on now. Because they're not going to just say, "Hey, Paul's calling. He's a barrel of laughs. Bring him in. Let him see what he does." Because that it was a joy in doing that. That business that you're doing is a real joy to do, because you're interacting with people, getting to know people, you know. Because
Right.
a lot of us here in the retirement stage have these great abilities of the studio and in their bedroom, and we're just sitting here all alone. So if our only way to reach out, if you have the money, you can go to all of the what do they call them, symposiums or whatever. You could go to those things, travel around the country, but most of us in retirement don't have that kind of money. So we're
Sure.
just all we can do is go out and get to know you a little bit, and hopefully get on your brief list so that we can compete with the rest of the people and find out. But you're right, this Cyanite thing is really great. I've only done it now since I met you last Friday, and it's been great experience getting my 5 songs done.
That's
but
excellent.
but like I say, I'm looking forward to expand and get to know people like it used to be. Because for me, that's what the music business was all about, was getting to know people. And this is a totally different business, so I don't know anybody in it yet, except maybe you.
Well, Paul, at the end of the day, it calls for like long-term success in this business calls for a combination of things. I mean, right now we have to use the tools that are effective, and there are tools obviously like Disco, which we use for sending and receiving music, and that's pretty much the standard that's out there for that purpose. Their AI as it exists right now is not very good. I don't mind saying that on record. It's like tagging is a work in progress. I'll be honest, because I love Disco, but their tagging's a work in progress. So there's that. But still, it's a tool that we use. And then there's other tools that are out there. Cyanite is one of them. There are others that work in the production environment that are music supervisor centric. There are ones that are artist centric. There are ones that are blended. And those are important tools. And those tools can help, like I said, accelerate the search process, accelerate the confirmation process. And those tools can help you to make sure that when you have a connection, you respond to it in the most efficient way possible. So that's what those tools can do. But beyond that, in terms of, let's say, an exchange where people are putting out briefs, and there are services that exist like this that are not AI powered. And I think that they're questionable, to be fair. I'm not going to single out any one of them because people do get syncs from them. And I don't want to say that they're bad, because they're not. But what happens is that by the time the brief goes out to that third level I was talking about, to services like that, it's a competition and it rapidly gets filled. So a lot of people have paid to be a part of that, and by the time they're able to get something out, the opportunity is over. So there's some difficulties in that. So what we can do with technology is make it so that you're putting your best foot forward every time, and we make your process more efficient and the process of the music supervisor more efficient. Now, on the other side, in terms of networking, that's really key. Networking and building relationships. And, from our side at Sync Summit, we do listening sessions where we bring a music supervisor or another person in, and they listen to music and they really get to know somebody. And those things are great because you end up having the beginning of a relationship. The second thing is going out to an event, and we do events, other people do events online or in person. And those events, of course, especially if you're in person, end up with connections. For example,
Yeah.
Gary Calamar did a showcase at an event that we did in LA last year, and he hung out with people and he got to know them and their music, and he hung out and watched the other showcases. He did a keynote. He basically spent the day there. And Gary's a major music supervisor. So that's one example of the good of being at an in-person event. There's things that we can do online to help people to connect their music to people. We can share their music even if they're attending online with the speakers. That's something that we do that I don't think a lot of events do. But even with all of that said, there's only so much that we can do from our side with technology and online to help people to make connections. There's no silver bullet that I can give you. It really is like at a certain jump off point, building those relationships, taking the time to be politely politely persuasive or politely persistent. Every 2 or 3 weeks, getting in touch with somebody, not sending them a note and saying, "Hey, I sent you music a few weeks ago. Did you have a chance to listen to it?" Because people don't respond well to that. It's always better if you say, "Hey, I want to turn you on to something new that I've done." And you just be persistent about it. You put it out there. And over time, you will start to build relationships, and you will start to have something where somebody goes, "You know what? I actually could take a chance on that." And then secondarily, your music gets out there. A lot of people put this into an inbox, or they put it onto a hard drive, an internal hard drive, and they'll call upon it months later or sometimes even years later, which is frustrating, but that is the way the world works. And then you'll hear from somebody, "Hey, I got this track from you a while ago. I think it could work for our show. I want to talk to you about it." That actually does happen a lot. And, your success or failure in that scenario is based around, having good metadata. So, this is where it comes full circle. And then you go into, okay, optimizing your metadata through things like Cyanite can help you in the long term in building these relationships and building these opportunities.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Oh,
I at least had good experience with every one of the supervisors that have heard my material before.
right.
I never get a negative reaction. They love the sound of what I'm doing. So, but again, it's one of those things where they put it on the shelf somewhere, and maybe some year later they think about it. But anyways, thanks for letting me come in and talk today. Been great.
Absolutely, Paul. I'm so glad that you brought this up. And I mean, Marcus, I hope you don't mind that we went in that direction, but I love talking about
Oh, it's
these
fine.
things because I think it's important to talk about where the practical jump off point is in terms of how this can be used in a real world basis. So thank you for that, Paul. I'm glad you jumped in. So Miss FD had a question for you, Marcus, and I'll let you
Yes.
answer it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just already typing an answer, but like no rights, of course, given to us, like any IP rights or copyrights, any other rights on that recording or the composition are given to us. We have never trained, nor will we train on these kind of uploads. That's all going through partners, and then really like, yeah, it's actually like we wouldn't be even able, like, that's also from a technical and from a legal and from an ethical standpoint, but from a technical standpoint, we wouldn't be able to use it, because in order to improve the AI, you always have to have context to the song, right?
Yeah.
So it needs to be tagged in some way of form for us to be able to use it. And since we're not intaking any 83 tags, there's no metadata shared with Cyanite anyway. So
Yeah, or the waveform itself. That's not being
no,
that
like
is yeah,
no, we're not. We can't take this as training data for anything.
good. That's really important
Yeah.
for everybody to know, because I know that that's a
Yes.
big fear amongst people, is that their music is going to be used without permission. So it's important for you to know this.
Yeah, and I mean, that's also what set us apart. It sets us apart from other of the LLMs or the frontier models that do have basic music understanding. Like Google Gemini has basic music understanding. There's a lot of hallucination in there, so I wouldn't advise anybody to use it. But if you feel inclined, do know that it's Google, and that
Yeah,
Google is just an antitrust investigation in the EU for user, like for illegal terms and conditions for YouTube to train Gemini, and now also to train Lyra 3. So like you basically, like, you pour your heart and soul into the devil's mouth if you do that. So you're not doing that with Cyanide, and that's like puts us a little bit like on a very juxtaposition of what Silicon Valley is like, trying to shove down our throats.
yeah, and I would say it's not just Google that's doing that, but all the major ones. They're all
Yeah,
doing
of
it.
course.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That's an important distinction. But with that said, I just wanted to ask you if we could talk about all of these issues here today, but I'm really glad that we had a good practical conversation around these things. Now, tell us, anything that you think is like particularly interesting for people to know, whether they are, it doesn't matter if they're music supervisors, artists, or people who are administrating rights, PROs, publishers, labels, in terms of the utility of Cyanite for what they do.
So I was just answering the chat. Could you repeat that question? I'm very sorry.
Yes. Oh, no, no. This is more of a
Sorry.
general question. So,
All right. Okay.
uh, yeah.
So okay.
No. So, if I wanted to ask you, is there anything else that you wanted to add in terms of the utility of Cyanite if you are, a rights holder, an artist, or a music supervisor? Let's say you're not a music supervisor, you're a decision maker at an ad firm or a brand. What are some of the, we talked about a few utilities. What are some of the other things that may be interesting for people to know about?
Yeah, no, of course. And Paul had briefly touched on it already. It's like there are two search aspects to Cyanide as well. Like apart from the whole keyword discovery, is a similarity search where Cyanide, really, lets the AI determine how similar different songs are sounding. So you had that example before, Mark, with the replacement of a Tears for Fears song. Just go
Yeah.
out and see what else is like in a library that sounds alike. There's a prompt search aspect as well, where you can search music using free text. And what we're going to release very soon as well is conversational search, where it all like ties in all of our products, which is tagging prompt search and similarity search into one product. So you can kind of tell that like, hey, I need something like I don't know, Tears for Fears, everybody wants a real world, but it
Yeah.
needs to have a trumpet and start with a piano. And then after 20 seconds, I need to do that. So it ties in like, tagging aspects and the similarity search and free text search. Then you can even like, go further and say like, oh, these song selections were great, but I liked song 3 the best. Give me song 3. Uh, Go a little bit off that vibe, and then develop it more into a, I don't know, country pop kind of direction, and then it will be able to like grab song 3, take the data from that, and then search in a large catalog for more songs that fit that description. So it's very versatile, and it's actually a lot of fun to like just play around with it. And we're really excited about that.
That's very cool. I can't
Yes.
wait for the launch. And after we're done with this chat, I'm going to give you a quick call because I want to see what I can do to like get the message out tomorrow. So I'll give you a call as soon as we're done here. But
Awesome.
with that said, I think we'll wrap things up now because I want to be mindful of your time, especially with the fact that you've got a launch coming up tomorrow. And I want to thank you for coming in last minute. You know, as a host, I'm always you. I owe you one. I owe you one, Marcus, for this. Number one, but number
No, my
two,
pleasure.
I had no idea that you had such an exciting event coming up tomorrow. So it's great to know that too.
Yes, that's good timing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the last thing is, okay, so if people want to sign up, they've already got the URL cyanite.ai. I think you put this in here, right? So
I can do it now.
yeah, go
That's
ahead and put in the URL to sign up.
Yeah,
There we are.
just told Robbie in the chat, like if you want to have the new stuff directly to deliver to your inbox, just go to Cyanite AI and then sign up for the newsletter. We're sending it out tomorrow. A couple best practices as well over the course of the next few weeks. So that's going to be exciting.
Awesome. That is great.
Yeah,
Excellent. Well, thank you,
sweet.
Marcus. That was wonderful. And everybody, thank you for being here. We're going to have our next discussion on Friday, and that's going to be with Benji Rogers. This time he promised me he'll show up. Okay, I'm being a little mean to him, but you know, he's awesome and business happens, so we adapt, you know, but that'll be a great conversation. And probably we're going to focus on, you know, how are we going to actually get people paid for the usage of their training data? So that's going to be a fun conversation. Now, two things. If you're in LA or you're online and you want to spend a full day talking around these issues, we've got an LA event coming up at the Recording Club in Santa Monica around AI and Sync on September 16th. You can attend that online. There's the link there to sign up. We have a discounted rate going on right now. And I would encourage you to attend because we're going to have a lot of interesting people and a lot of interesting conversations around all the aspects of the utilization of AI. And then the other thing that I wanted to give you is because I want to do this. It takes me a little time and effort to put together. So if you want to support this thing, here's a little buy me a coffee link. You don't have to do that. This is free. So I still want to put it out there though. More importantly though, if you're interested in AI, I'd really like you to consider coming to the event because that's where you're really going to get value for your time and energy. We're going to demo a bunch of different solutions, and you'll really get something out of it. So you can check that out. But with that said, the big news here is that Cyanite has, I don't know, I'm calling it in my head 2.0, but that's probably not what you're calling it, you know.
It is
But,
in fact what we.
oh, it is what
It's
you're calling
literally
it,
what we're calling it.
2.0.
Yes.
Hilarious.
I know
Okay, I
it's
just didn't
very
want to be
unimaginative, but it struck a chord.
good. I like
But
2.0. I think that's awesome. So
and
Cyanite
yes.
2.0 is debuting tomorrow. And I really and truly hope that all of you are inspired to check it out and sign up. I mean, for gosh sake, it's free to start. So what the heck if you got to lose? Nothing but a few minutes to play around with it. So I encourage all of you to check it out. All right. So with that said, we're going to
Awesome.
end our discussion today. I will see you all hopefully on Friday. And Marcus, thanks again. And congratulations on getting this out the door tomorrow.
Thanks so much, and thanks so much for giving me the opportunity to talk
Absolutely.
about it. Great to
Thanks,
see you, Mark.
Marcus. We'll talk
Thank
to
you,
you
Niels.
soon.